Good morning, folks. Curtis Chandler here, president of PFL, bringing you this week's North American rail energy and macro update. Last week brought a mixed bag of economic signals, but the overall market tone was positive. Stocks closed higher across the board. The Dow finished up 480 points week over week. The S&P 500 gained 80 points week over week, and the Nasdaq rose 490 points for the week. In overnight trading, Dow futures are trading lower and are expected to open down this morning 144 points from Friday's close. On the jobs front, initial jobless claims dropped by 33,000 people week over week. In the energy space, crude oil posted a modest decline. West Texas Intermediate closed on Friday of last week at 62.68, which was down 89 cents for the session and down 1 cent week over week. WTI futures are traded to open at 62.22, down 18 cents from Friday's close. U.S. commercial crude inventories decreased by 9.3 million barrels week over week, putting stocks at 415.4 million barrels, which is 5% below the 5-year average for this time of year. Gasoline inventories fell by 2.3 million barrels and are 1% below the 5-year average for this time of year. Distillate gained 4 million barrels and are now 8% below the 5-year average for this time of year. Propane stocks increased by 1.3 million barrels and are running 12% above the 5-year average for this time of year. On the logistics side, North American weekly rail volumes fell by 1.97% year over year in week 38, with total carloads up 0.75%, but intermodal volumes were down by 4.5% compared to the same period last year. 7 out of 11 major traffic categories posted year-over-year decreases. The biggest drop came from forest products, which was down 14.27%, and chemicals were the bright spot, up 7.02%. Class 1 hiring headcount numbers are out. Please see PFL's rail report for the latest and greatest on this one. U.S. grain producers are bracing for a record harvest this fall. Corn production is set to reach 16.8 billion bushels, soybeans 4.5 billion bushels, and wheat 2 billion bushels, with total grain output up 8% year over year. This will take about 42,000 grain carloads to move, with peak shipping in October and November, and tight network congestion is expected. Just when you thought it was over, ongoing legal battles are casting uncertainty over Enbridge's Line 5 pipeline. Court actions in both Wisconsin and Michigan threaten to shut segments as soon as June 2026. Enbridge is trying to reroute a 41-mile section, but construction timelines remain at risk. See PFL's rail report for further details. AI and hyperscale data center buildouts are triggering a massive power wave, 9 gigawatts in proposal for Texas alone. The mix of renewable battery and natural gas supply for these centers is exposing grid and regulatory limits and further underscoring the continued logistical challenge of North American energy transition. The green old meal may be dead. Oil patch M&A is red hot. MEG's board rejected Strathcona's revised bid, urging support for the Cenovus deal. Meanwhile, Chord Energy acquired XTO's Energy Williston Basin assets for $550 million, highlighting disciplined core basin growth strategies for U.S. shale. In Canadian politics, left-wing Prime Minister Mark Carney is making headlines with promises of new pipelines and CCUS projects. Industry leaders remain skeptical amid continued regulatory uncertainty, demanding urgent reforms that would speed up project approvals and clarify the future of Western Canadian oil exports. Rail is the backstop. Please read PFL's rail report for further details. Well, that's your snapshot for this week for the latest rail cars available for sale or lease, custom rail solutions, or talk trends. Call us today at PFL. Remember, we clean, flare, service, and store rail cars across North America, and we've got your back with the latest insight and strategies. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week with another market update. Please read this week's rail report for further details on what I talked about today and for other information related to your business. Thanks and have a great week.